It's time to start the conversation, y'all. Lest we get too comfortable. Lest we forget.
This is a full circle moment. It truly is. I've not experienced a full circle moment like this, where I wind up here in the studio, Lindesay, on the 17th day of 2017. And I'm here, and we just finished working on a song that I have carried and held in my soul for, oh my gosh, 20 years. That was in 1999 when I returned from Europe, and I'd had this epiphany and discovered my story, my history. Somebody told me about the Middle Passage and the transatlantic slave trade in Germany. And from that moment on, and that awakening I had to my history, is where everything changed. It really did. And I'm sitting here thinking that this song and this one-woman play that I wanted to tell my story on a stage, lest we forget, a journey from oppression to triumph, and I needed the song, I needed the recordings. I didn't have all of the wherewithal to do it. And Ira Wilkes, my brother from another mother, really, and Alvester Duckworth got together and said to me, Mary, we hear what you're trying to do, and we want to help you. We will, if you would drive to Leavenworth, you and Ira, come down to this studio, we will lay down the tracks for you. So you won't have to be trying to hire musicians and, to play the music in your play that you want to write. And that's what we did. Ira Wilkes laid down the incredible bass line tracks. He laid down the tracks for the drums. He played the guitar. He hit all the licks. And I was involved with the had met someone that did not come from America, who I shared a lot of my story and my experience with, and who are very interested in our story and embrace it more than America does. Someone from Europe. His name was, not Europe, Helsinki, Finland. His name was Jim Pembroke. And who, oh my God, let me remember the name of the band. He has a following incredible from Europe and London, England, and so many other places in Europe where he actually settled and started to play music. And wigwam. I said the magic word. Wigwam, Jim Pembroke. Oh my God. And we just really fell in love in our hearts with so much commonalities that we shared for the love of music. His story of leaving London and going to Helsinki, Finland, and not coming back for 15 or 20 years, where he started this wonderful career of his. And so that's how I introduced him to Ira and Alvester Duckworth. And in this recording session, there's so many other details I could get all into this story, so amazing. But the way it turned out that Alvester Duckworth really bonded and really loved and embraced Jim Pembroke, which was really not how he was embraced as being my friend and going around to jam sessions, and I wanted to bring him up inside of the musical community of my colleagues, of whom I've worked with everyone. And I had returned from Europe and what have you, still trying to move my career along. And we've had some unpleasant, some unnice experience with Jim Pembroke. And our hanging out in Kansas City that made me feel very, very bad. But Alvester Duckworth made it right. He loved Jim, and Jim loved him. And so we started to work on this. We did it for a couple, 2 or 3 days, and however long it took, I can't recall now. That's been 20 years ago. But we wound up with me having the music tracks to this one-woman play that I wrote. And one thing that's not on this particular CD that I'm going to be releasing, but somewhere in this space of releasing Lest We Forget, I have to include the primal hymn, the opening for the play that Alvester Duckworth played. And I'm telling you, when you hear this, even if you're a Catholic or a Muslim or what, you might start shouting. That's how awesome it is. Alvester Duckworth has music and church music and soul in his bones. He is all of that, and he plays with such passion. And who could forget Alvester Duckworth and all of the personality and heart that he brings to music? So lest we forget, this is a full circle moment because Craig, Lindesay, and I started, met back in the early, the 80s or whatever, when I was working with Scooter Powell. And Norman Brown was still playing around town, and the Unidos and the Kansas City Band, and oh my God, can I name all of these guys? But I've worked with so many. I feel so privileged now to, for those of us that are still here, to tell the stories. Listen, I am the only female that I know who worked with bands and traveled on the road and what have you, and where I was the only woman in the band. Oh, wait, don't let me forget Sandra with the Unidos. So Sandra and I could have some really wonderful conversations about being the only girl in the band with a bunch of musicians and all the stories around that. But I'm writing about it. And it's a celebration. I'm really celebrating all of my life. And I'm in my mid-70s now. And a senior, really, an elder. And all of that I've learned, experienced in the business of show, in the music business, and the arts as an artist. And one who now I can say that I couldn't let myself get pigeonholed into one identity. I'm sure that Maya Angelou would understand that. There were other voices and other things calling me, and I'm answering that. But however, Lest We Forget is very significant to me because it's more than just a song. It's more than just a one-hit wonder. The message in this song, and as it relates to where we are now in America and what is happening, is what inspired Lest We Forget in the first place. So this is the perfect time to bring it forward and to talk about racism, its effect on a little girl, because I'm that 73-year-old woman who, that little 5-year-old girl who witnessed terror for real down in Froggy Bottom, Louisiana, who witnessed the adults and all of the praying mothers and older people who witnessed fear in their faces, who witnessed fear in my mother's eyes, who I witnessed her changing her personality as a little girl when she was being humiliated and called gal by 16-year-old white kids. And because when they turn 16, whoever the slave master that they're working for, the children, when they hit 16, they have to say yes, sir, to them. the ones that they wiped their diapers and fed them and raised them just like they did their own children. When they reach 16 years old, then they have to flip the script and you have to say, yes, sir. So this is my story. Lest we forget, is connected to our story, my story and our story, because my story is our story, black people's story. I just happen to be the conduit to bring it forward because we forgot. That's the importance of lest we forget, to remind my people and this country and this world and myself and anybody else that we cannot forget. Because we forgot, we are where we are. So we cannot let this happen again and wind back up 4 decades from now. I won't be here, but back in the same place, because here we are again. I remember very well when Dr. King was assassinated. We had left Froggy Bottom. I was pregnant with the 3rd child and 2 babies, and we were trying to get away from hell, literally. Because the cameras were not down in little towns called Cullen and Spring Hill and Minden and all of the little towns with the sheriffs and the kangaroo courts, where you had no rights, 0 rights. If you passed the sheriff going 35 miles an hour and the speed limit is 35, and he's going 30, if you pass him and he's going slower than the speed limit, he pulls you over and takes you to jail. That's the kind of injustice I experience. And so I have been called, and I answer the call to tell the story, our story. And lest we forget, is the platform upon which I want to build a house, to build an initiative for positive change. And the only way that we can do that, from my own perspective, is to remember, is to start right now. There are stories, there are elders and children who don't know the story of their grandmother or their grandfather. Everybody that I meet, for the most part in Kansas City, of color, that I ask, where are your southern roots? And they's always in Arkansas, Louisiana. I said, well, have you been there? Have you gone there? No, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to go there. The people who are my age who fled to Chicago, Kansas City, they say, I just don't want to talk about it. I just want to forget it. Well, that's the biggest mistake we made, is forgetting and not talking about it. Because, listen, we can use the Jewish culture as a blueprint. They're what they say, lest we forget. Really, I draw from that, because they vowed that they would never, ever, ever let it be forgotten what was done to them. Their children know, the colleges know, it's taught in the schools. We know about the Jewish Holocaust. We know about it. We don't know about the transatlantic slave trade, and we don't know about the Black Holocaust. And so I just know in my heart that God did not allow me to go to the Middle Passage for real. I've been to the Middle Passage on a sail ship, a replica sail ship, where we lowered a monument in 1999 to honor the millions of bones laying at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean that has not been acknowledged. I was on that boat. And the story of what happened after we lowered the monument will be coming forward. You're gonna hear about it, because I'm in writing mode and it's an incredible story. And then also that I had to go to Africa. I really wanted to go. I really wanted to have that experience. And I did. I was blessed with Queen Mother Dr. Deloise Blakely, who was on the boat, a part of the Middle Passage Monument Project. She was on the boat. We stayed in touch. She is the community mayor of Harlem. She lives in the United Nations. She was the caretaker for Queen Mother Audley Moore, who was best friends, who was connected with Marcus Garvey, and who was about the children and about reparations. And Queen Mother Blakely knew Queen Mother Moore very well. And by some coincidence, we're on the boat. And my name is more, where she made the connection. She felt that was not a coincidence, and neither do I. I think the spirit of Queen Mother more, because my passion is about the children, really. It's all about the children, and I know that these children that are out here that adults are looking at and putting their mouth on these babies who are not pulling their pants up. And I say, take your mouth off of them. This was created by the environment that they were born in. And we need to have a shift in our conscience about so many things. I feel that we need to start by realizing our value. We have no idea how, oh my gosh, how powerful we are. And our value as a people, as a person, the most creative people to have been born, come on this earth. I mean, God, you know what I would say? If everything that was created by a person of color, by black, I'm going to say the word, yes. Everything that was created out of the black experience, out of the African American culture in America, if it were just sucked up from the universe, if it just sucked up and disappeared right now, what kind of world would we have? We'd have no jazz. We have no blues. We have no gospel. We have no stoplights. Just keep on. Let's just start naming the things that was created by the black mind. And, you know, we are actually with media and with people who really want to continue to marginalize and give and place an identity on the people. And, you know, the sheer nature of all of the creators and the inventors that I've read about and all the things that have been created by people of color, you know, I feel deep in my heart that by nature we are not a violent people. You know, we've been sold something, and something has been sold out there in the media world that's not true. By nature, the people who create things, we don't think about how much money we're going to make. That we don't see the value in it. We don't think from a monetary point of view. The thoughts are how much this is going to help people. This is going to change things. You know the man who invented the lights. Wow, maybe cars won't be smashing into each other. George Washington Carver, all the wonderful things that's going to happen with peanuts and potatoes, and all of the other inventors. They don't think money first. And unfortunately, people who see our value for real, and people who are very, very money motivated, so money motivated that they brought slaves over here to work for free labor, and built on the back of my ancestors, even the White House. So, I'm not coming from a bitter place, but I have plenty of righteous indignation that it's time to turn the page. So lest we get too comfortable, and we have gotten too comfortable, lest we forget. And I think my good friend Ira Wilkes, I will be eternally grateful. And I will be eternally grateful to, oh my God, Alvester Duckworth. And I hold the memories of all of these incredible musicians in Kansas City that I've had the privilege to work with. And trust me, I've lived in Europe, I've lived in France, I've lived in Germany, I've traveled the world, and I always compare the musicians that I work with there. And it would always fall back to Kansas City. My God, we got the greatest musicians on this planet right here in Kansas City. Greatest drummers. Oh my God, Scooter Powell, are you kidding me? And oh my Lord, have mercy. If the world heard Kenny Hudson play that bass, oh my God. The greatest bass players, so many great drummers, you know, and one of the first drummers that I worked with, he's no longer with us, but I will always forever hold Greg Lee in my heart. He was the first drummer that I worked with the Future Shock Kansas City Band. And these people that have gone before us, we cannot let their name be forgotten. we've got to keep their memory alive by talking about it and telling the stories. And so that's the kind of mission I'm on. So I'm sitting here in the home with Craig Lindesay, who is doing this labor of love of connecting and staying connected to all of the musicians and artists from back in the day, from the 70s, when music was alive and people out in the streets and we were playing. You talk about bands, the Unidos, are you kidding me? And Future Shock Band, some of the others, don't y'all get mad, I can't. Shades of Madness, and you know, the clubs that we were playing, the Inferno, Lord Have Mercy, and many others are both on both sides of the river. And the music was in the air, and people were coming out in droves, and that was just this vibe with our music and the great musicians that was playing it, and had show bands, and they really took seriously their art of music and the show and the stage. And disco came in and killed the music. That's what happened. That's what I say. Disco came in a year and a half or 2 years, the majority of the bands that was able to gig for 2 or 3 nights a week or on a regular basis just kind of fell away. And when all of the nightclubs hung those little balls up in the air, and people were still paying to come in to dance to the red ball and this music with this beat, and it changed so much. But we still hold it, and Craig is the keeper. He's the gatekeeper. That's what Craig is. He's shaking his head over here on the other side of the camera, but, you know, I have written about gatekeepers, and I have identified many in Kansas City, and he's one of them because he's preserving the story, the history. And it's like his little personal mission, not for anything, not for any gain, but because of the people he knows and the musicians and their plight as musicians who weren't able to get outside of this local area, but were phenomenal. And he recognizes them and is kind of the glue that's holding it all together, the stories. And I'm very grateful to be sitting here in his home and talking about this. It is a full circle moment, and I have the feeling that there's so much more that's going to come out here, especially out of this old lady. And so, Lest We Forget is the platform, is the single that is going to be released very soon, and I'm very excited about that. I still got a little swag. I still got a little bit, you know what I'm saying? It's funky, it's saying something, it's got lots of attitude, and I'm known in Kansas City. Yes, I did have attitude, good attitude, happy, celebration, whatever song that I really threw myself into the lyric and became whatever that song was about. And I love performing, I love songs and stories. Thank you, Craig.